Tonight's chat is brought to you by Loot Crate. Save 10% on any new subscription at www.trylootcrate.com/FFC. Enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings.
Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome back for episode 110 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on December 1st, 2017 over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Big shout out to our live chat here. Thank you so much for joining us for another evening back in the tower. This is your host, Blue Crew 86. Alongside me, we have the man who has been said has the voice of the flower, and he's getting a steadier internet connection as we speak. Justin, how are you doing tonight?
Man, I'm amazing. Can you hear me?
I was about to say, I'm like, Ed, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah. I'm amazing. No, I am amazing. So amazing that I completely forgot where I was going with that. No, I just wanted to say I just recently have been able to get some internet going and have been able to actually play some Destiny 2. Actually got in the raid for the first time last night, which, I mean, who knew Little Caesars had a location outside of Nessus? I mean, that was beautiful. But yeah, I've really just been loving this game. And Blue, I know we talked before show, and we kind of discussed the possibility of me maybe saying a few words about the state of the game and how I see it through my newbie, like newborn, still
newborn eyes
over them, eyes, And I was just wondering if that'd be okay with you guys, if I could just be serious.
Newbie glasses, it's good.
Newbie glasses. Let's get the other two people introduced, and then I actually want to give everyone a chance to kind of weigh in on the events this week.
For format.
I know. It's almost like we need to give names to the disembodied voices that you'll hear. It's crazy.
Okay, do it.
Well, alongside me, we also have our favorite Gunter, the one and only Green-Eyed Music Lover. Green, I hope you're doing well. Are you looking forward to tonight's chat as well?
Yeah, I've been looking. Yeah, it's been great to have a break, but at the same time, I'm ready to kind of dig back in because I've missed my online family.
Nice. We've missed you too. Mm-hmm. Except, we chat with you every day, so.
Not everybody chats with me every day.
I make
You're
up for it.
You're just special because you kind of ping at me every single day.
Green. I know you're on vacation, but I have a question. Well, we also have with us the grizzly bearded lore master himself, Beard Grizzly. Beard, how's your head doing? I know you.
I mean, like I said before chat and everything, I'm here. Yeah, quick note on that. I suffer from chronic migraines because I have this post online anyway, so it's all pretty well up there. I suffered from shingles several years ago. It affected the left side of my head, and long story short, I have some fairly permanent nerve damage. But that being said, it pretty well gets to my head, like, immediately. Some days are better than others. Some days are worse than others. Today happens to be one of those worse than other moments. But before I keep going into myself, I'm doing great. Otherwise, everything is fantastic. Aside from everybody screaming at each other, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah. But otherwise, tis the season. I don't know what my life is anymore at this point. What is time? I wish I was Vex. I wish I had a portal. I wish I had that really cool thing that Osiris uses in the trailer where he can manipulate things because
the
time.
Fidget cube.
Yes, the fidget cube. Oh my god.
All right. Well, so real quick before we get into the chat, like I said, or kind of like how Justin has kind of mentioned as well, most of us who are actually, even if you're not really involved in the Destiny community, you probably are aware of a bit of drama that has been going on. And it's not, and honestly, it kind of, to me, I've also seen it just in general in the gaming community and internet in general, but it's kind of taken up it's gone up a couple notches, let's just say, recently. So I kind of wanted to give a chance to, I know normally we kind of leave the, we kind of leave the current events and happenings to our partner podcasts who kind of actually deal with the news, Guardian Radio and Guardian One especially. But I wanted to give a chance for our team to just kind of weigh in because it is kind of a big happening. And I know that a couple of us, I know Beard, you've been asked what your thoughts are on it. I know I've been asked what my thoughts are on it. And so I wanted to give everyone a chance to kind of weigh in. And that being said, Justin, I know you kind of have a unique perspective on this whole thing because unlike the rest of us, I mean, you actually legitimately have you've only been playing Destiny 2 for a couple weeks now, right?
Yeah. Let's clarify that. I've played plenty of Destiny, but yeah, Destiny 2. I played beta and I played at the reveal, and that was about it. And then I'd already bought it, and it was sitting there just like driving me crazy. But just kind of relying on other people to go to their house and play it just never materialized. And once I got past launch, it was kind of like, okay, all that urgency went away and just life kind of got in my way. But being able to step into it now, and I've done a lot by myself, kind of like I did with Vanilla D1. I've enjoyed it. I don't know how much credence my opinion brings with it, just because I'm not anywhere near that threshold where you could start to get bored with it. So, I'm still at the point to where there's always stuff on the map to do that's rewarding. So, but I did get my Guardian to 270 and we got to the gauntlet in the raid last night. So, I've done most of the things. So I've really enjoyed it.
So I know you kind of were speaking a little bit about your take on the frustrations that were being voiced.
Oh yeah, and I had kind of a little something prepared, and if it's cool with everybody, I'd like to read it. And
is it safe?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's 100% safe. There's nothing, no beeps, nothing like that.
Beeps, no train sounds.
Yeah. No train sounds unless at the end it's so good that green gives me an F. Yeah. So
wow. It'd be impressive if you were that good that I would give you.
I know. Okay. Yes. So are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good evening, all. I know most of you probably know what's been going on with me. If not, I've just been in a spot where I really haven't had internet. And after enduring the long walk through the video gameless haunted earth that has been my life, my perseverance rewarded this hero's burden with the gift of D2. And while I have the foggy notion that the truth teller is often out of options, I firmly believe that this embattled franchise will be standing tall when the morning comes. And though you may think me a headstrong gentleman vagabond, I'm much more than ballyhoo and good bone structure. With every deadpan delivery, I can sense Blue shift in his seat.
God.
And though the showrunner's disrespectful stare signals my curtain call and may land me in the hoosegow, I leave you with this. Not every pariah is bad news, and not every persuader is your last hope. Fare thee well, Vanilla D2. Not a single clap. Not a single clap.
I love you.
Pins in chat. Pins in chat. He used ballyhoo properly.
We've started a thing, and I'm okay with this.
Did you really have to start with puns while my brain feels like this? Did you
so
really?
Oh, when I saw that there's a gun called Blue Shift, I said, I gotta work that into the pun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
I will say well done.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Well, and I'm gonna kind of hand it off to Green too. What are your thoughts on the situation, I guess?
Well, I was actually approached by one of the listeners a few days ago, and he asked what I thought content creators or like community leaders should react, or how they should react to this whole thing, which is kind of a dangerous question to actually answer. But what I ended up telling him was that because it's a difficult question, because people are entitled to their own opinions. Everybody has them. You can have an opinion. I can have an opinion. It's great. The thing that bothers me is when opinions are attacked. And as soon as you start putting people down for what they believe, because they don't happen to believe something that you believe, that's when things get toxic. And I disagree wholeheartedly with it. I think community leaders, whether you are a small-time podcaster, streamer, like Twitter person that is just like off the charts in the Twitter world, because there's some of those too. I think a lot of it is just being an example and helping everybody keep a level head without letting people just walk all over each other, because no one likes that either direction. But that's my 2 cents. I think people should be, you don't have to be nice to each other necessarily, but you shouldn't be putting other people down for what they believe.
I agree. And then, did you have anything else before I let Beard?
Oh, I could go on a
right. Yeah,
I'm not going to.
Fair, yeah, fair enough. I mean, like, I guess like just quick responses, really, honestly, just to kind of give people a feel for where we kind of individually stand. I mean, I think most of us are going to pretty much be on the same page as you are.
Yeah, it's just be good to each other, agree to disagree, and move on.
Fair enough. And Beard, what about you?
Well, because that didn't turn into about 45 minutes over the past, week on my channel at all.
Yeah.
You can hear my entire in-depth thoughts, by the way, over there. I will keep it as short as I can, because honestly, I think that's the major thing is that Green kind of touched on. But on a personal level, when I start having several members of my community be attacked because they enjoy a video game of all freaking things, you better believe I'm going to be upset. You better believe I'm going to go after those people that are 100% negative and cut down those that are in any way positive about anything. So when we start seeing these tags that pop up online, on Twitter, elsewhere, it is not a matter of being 100% devoted to something. It is a matter of simply stating, I am happy with how things are going right now, trust in the development, and know that there is something that needs to change. When you go ahead and start to attack people that exist within playing a freaking video game, you have no right to exist within that area. I am sorry. That is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, and Green, I know you wanted to...
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Log Power Slave, who created, and somebody in chat brought up the plus sign on the Twitter handles. Log Power Slave brought that into it not because he's ridiculously optimistic, but because he has a devotion to being open and not going to put you down for your thoughts. Like, he will have a conversation with you about it, but he's not going to put you down for what you believe or tell you that you're wrong. That's what the positive sign meant. And I think a lot of people on Twitter kind of took it as being something other.
You're right.
Unfortunately.
Completely other. They didn't read the first post. All they did was start seeing retweets about it, and that was it. They didn't read the initial post. And it's not like it was up long enough that they would have to skim back far to find it. They could easily figure out what was going on, or, like most people forget to do, ask a simple question.
Right. Well, I mean, attention spans are short. We are in a era of 280 characters, luckily, but it's still...
Yeah. I'm gonna. I actually, that's kind of along the lines of what I'm gonna kind of mention. But Justin, I know you wanted to chime in real quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could say a bunch of stuff, but it'd pretty much be right down the same lines as what Beard and Green are saying. But I just want to quote one of my favorite non-science fiction books. And that is, and we always harp on what a family this community is. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to say that this is a quote from the book. We're family. We can argue, but we must never fight. And it means, argument's fine. Like that's talking. We're not going to fight because fighting is nasty and fighting hurts people. See, that's a lot of people don't savvy the difference, but I think it's time to learn it.
Yeah. And so in Green, I know you've seen what I kind of I'm going to read, because I've been asked a couple times, not just about this particular thing, but in general, about some of the toxicity that we've seen. And this by no means, I'm just going to be very clear and upfront. This by no means is just to Destiny. Most of you know that I've been part of the Halo community before I really got into Destiny. I wasn't a huge part of it. Pins is definitely a larger part of that community than I am. And I mean, I've talked to him in length about some of this stuff. I know Green, you've kind of talked to him about some stuff too. And then it's really, really kind of a social phenomenon as far as like our current world. And so and coming from my background as like, that was kind of what I spent a lot of my education years researching, is actual social and sociology. There's a couple authors that really kind of, I think, hit the nail on the head as far as kind of explaining where this attitude of negativity comes from. And one of them was a gentleman named Philip Cushman. And he actually has this concept called the empty self. And he's basically, it's something that is pretty relevant actually to this chat. The concept actually explains the practice of strategies that emphasize soothing and charisma instead of critical thought, which is a very prevalent thing in today's world. And if you combine this with the pretty intoxicating sense of courage that's offered by the anonymity of the internet, this often leads to overly aggressive displays of hostility. Which translates into, instead of civil discourse and healthy debate, communities today immediately launch all-out wars when they find anything or anyone they perceive as being wrong or unfair, especially to them. This toxic environment actually compounds the issue, because the human person, from a psychological level, the human person is incomplete by nature. And what that means is that without a cultural matrix within which one can embed oneself, an individual will find themselves unable to function adequately. You can't function. So if you take the view that culture completes humans by explaining and interpreting the world, helping those individuals to focus their attention or ignore certain aspects of their environment, and instructs or forbids them to think or act in certain ways, which is a concept that another philosopher, Martin Heidegger, actually came with, it really is no surprise that we have the toxicity we see in the world around us. So when your instinctual responses, as conditioned by the culture that you live in, is to be hypercritical and is trained to see any denial of your individual wishes as a personal assault, basically due to an unhealthy level of emotional attachment to anything and everything that you do, the responses that we see online today really start to become understandable. They're simply a product of their environment. However, this does not make them acceptable. Disagreeing or being annoyed by something, especially something in a video game, is fine and is completely okay. But throwing out decorum and tact in order to garner popular support just really isn't. It is completely unacceptable. And this is really, you could see this really with the threats of physical violence. And I mean, there's even been death threats issued for this. So, that is just, it is not, nor will it ever be, acceptable responses. One of the things is that it's a sign of a mature and educated mind to listen to opposing points of view and entertain those thoughts without necessarily accepting them. That's what conversations are based around. And if this isn't something that one is capable of, either due to psychological anxiety or anger that such a conversation would create, then that is in itself a kind of a sign that you are getting too close emotionally to the topic. Remember that at the end of the day, this is a game. This is a form of entertainment. If there is no enjoyment for you in this particular game, that is 100% okay. It is expected that one piece of art will not appeal to everyone. Really, honestly, to think otherwise is both foolish and naive to just how human beings deal and interact with the world. And another individual has I love this quote, but he says, "It is altogether too often people substitute opinions for facts and emotions for analysis." And that's an executive at Intel, actually, Grove, I believe. In our world today, it's just too often that happens. And so I'm not saying that there aren't criticisms of a game. There are plenty within Destiny 2, to be specific. If you've talked to any of us offline or even listened to a podcast, you've probably caught on to a couple of them. But what is more important to yourself and to those whom you are speaking or interacting with is that you are able to maintain a respectful and tactful presentation of those criticisms. Because, to be honest, that is how things get fixed and addressed. Shouting threats makes people ultimately ignore the kernel of truth that you're trying to present to them. They throw the baby out with the bathwater, as the saying goes. So ultimately, be better. Be critical of things, but be respectful in the presentation of your analysis and analyze the facts. Don't use your opinions or emotions as facts, because while those are valid in their own way, that is not what analysis is based on. Analysis is based on facts. So if you want to be heard, if you actually are wanting to be heard, which I really think the root of the issue is that these people want to be heard, do it in a respectful manner, and I promise you, you'll be heard. You'll be responded to. People will listen to you. If you're going to threaten someone with physical violence or even a death threat, they're going to immediately dismiss you, and they will ignore you. And that's just because that's what you do to that.
Even worse, they will tune anybody out who sounds remotely like you. So you actually end up hurting your own cause.
Right. Yeah, and that's ultimately the thing. And again, I want to reiterate, this is in response to this weekend, or these past couple weeks in Destiny. This is where it's kind of come to a head, and I think it's a natural course in a lot of communities. This is kind of just a natural thing that happens. We kind of all are testing the waters, and it's just like, Justin will know where I'm going with this. It's just like raising a kid. Everyone has to test the boundaries. We're testing that boundary, and ultimately, Green, to go back to what you're kind of talking about, that's really where, in my mind, a lot of community leaders need to be. They need to be the ones that are being the parents. And, I might think that my 4-year-old deserves to have ice cream, but I know that at bedtime he doesn't get it. And it's at that point, someone's got to stand up and be the leader and be the person on the community side that's saying, hey, look, these are the problems that we have, and this is a calm and collected presentation of those problems, but it is not okay to threaten. It is not okay to scream. It is not okay to do some of the things that have been done. That's not acceptable, and we don't condone that. And I think that's my opinion on that thing. So
I would even say that it's not even necessarily just the community leader's job to be a parent.
Fair.
It's everybody's job. Everybody can be the master of themselves.
Right. And I think that's the other important thing that I really want to stress is that, my messages, my door is always open to people. I don't ever turn away conversations just because they're uncomfortable. So if you have something wrong, you want to vent, I'm always free to do that. But I think that a good sign for those who might not realize this about themselves, if you are legitimately this angry, if you really are this angry about what is happening in the video game industry, and you aren't employed in the video game industry, that's a different conversation. But if you are not gainfully employed or if you're not employed in the video game industry, this is not your place of business. This is your source of entertainment, and you are this angry at this. I would really strongly suggest that you take a moment and you kind of reprioritize things, because this is ultimately something that you should be doing for fun. And if it is not fun, then if it's not fun, then you really should ask, why are you still here? And I don't mean, get out, don't wait. No, I mean, why are you sticking around somewhere that is making you this angry? Because no one is making you stay except for yourself. And there are hundreds of thousands of games out there. You don't have to stay with a game that makes you unhappy. But I think that to me is the big critical sign. I mean, I'll be completely transparent. There was a long time in Destiny 1 after Rise of Iron that I didn't play Destiny. A lot of our community knows that. Because I didn't like the mechanics of it, whatever. But that didn't mean that I went out and ranted and raved. I just picked up Halo again and played more Halo. I mean, I got, people joked about it. But that's to me where I'm coming from. Is like, if you're this pissed off about it, take a breath and kind of take a step back and talk to us. Talk to anyone. Talk to someone who is not super annoyed and kind of get their approach to it. But that I think is my biggest response to it. And I know I kind of dominated that part, but and I apologize, but it has been something that has been in the back of my mind for a long time. I
think like it's been in the back of everybody's mind for so long now. It's just
right.
Like you said, it came to a head. It's just
right.
It got way too out of hand. Because I was going to say too, not to interrupt you, but I took time away, as some people know, to go and play Dead Space, and I had sat back and looked at what was going on with me personally playing D2, and I said, you know what? I'm really kind of burnt out from it, or I'm not necessarily feeling this right now. I need to go away and do something else. I went to another game that I love, like, profusely. I played that game now 23 times over. I still love it to absolute death. And I came back ready and energized to play more Destiny 2, and I actually was having fun. And then about 2 to 3 days later, this blows up. And I'm like, I have zero interest in looking into what is going on with this game again. All because of what now we are screaming at. And not because we are criticizing nicely or even criticizing a little harshly. And in turn, like, it's gone past tough love.
Right.
For some people, it has gone past tough love.
Right. And to be clear, I know I'm not saying don't criticize harshly. No, criticize harshly. But criticizing harshly. Yes. No,
There's a difference between criticizing and putting people down for what they believe.
There's a difference. There's a difference between a difference of opinion and hate.
Right. I mean, you can, by all means, if there's something that you disliked about the setup, talk about it. That's great. But do not tell somebody that they are stupid or that this is a dead game and you shouldn't play it anymore, because that's none of your business, frankly.
No. We were told that with Destiny 1 for how long, that it was a dead game. And
it got Destiny.
Oh God. Oh my! Wasn't it Kevin that made that into a raid tactic? Isn't this game dead? Yeah. Isn't this game dead? So confused one of the times they raided us, and I was like, "What is going on?" Oh, it's Kevin. Okay, got it.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, and ultimately, like I said, I'm trying to keep it brief. I know this is really hard for all of us because, it is something that's near and dear to us. It really is. And so we have very strong opinions about it. But like I said, even though we have strong opinions, and some of us might not agree with each other, there's been times that Justin's been wrong and he doesn't think that. And,
what?
Point of order.
I think we've now gone into the spinfoil territory and we need to get back on track.
I know, right?
But I mean, the thing is like disagreeing with each other. That's half the fun in a debate is coming together and presenting ideas that might not be what you think. But you just have to, there's a fine line between difference of opinion and being hateful.
Oh. Yeah. Without disagreement, there is no debate.
You got it. You can do it.
I can't talk.
I've missed you.
All right. Well, and then I actually did. Are you guys okay if I kind of go to kind of change gears for a quick second, and then we'll change even more gears?
Which way are we zigging this time?
Well, this way, I kind of wanted to talk about. I kind of wanted to talk about the little bit of the change that we were chatting about.
Okay.
So, this is something that we've kind of been throwing around for a while, kind of behind the scenes, and basically we've kind of hit an interesting problem recently with the podcast. The amount of content that's discussed in the week-long chat is actually getting to the point that it exceeds the ability of us to discuss in a normal 2-hour-long episode, which is amazing. It's a great problem. But given that 2 hours is already pretty well over the average length of most podcasts, simply making a longer episode is really not an option. I don't think we could stay up as late as we would need to actually cover some of the topics. But neither do I or the team want to cut the chat into a shorter time frame, because the week-long format really allows a lot of people to kind of weigh in who want to weigh in to have a chance, because, hey, some of us have other priorities in our lives that, video games, again, entertainment, not necessarily our jobs. So kind of after kind of tossing this back and forth and discussing this, I think the best response for us is to take some of the more hotly debated or complicated issues from the week's chat and delve into those on the weekly podcast. So what this does is this actually gives us a couple wins. First, we're going to get the chance to really dig into a particular issue from that week's topic and give it the justice that, we as a team feel they deserve. And second, those issues are still going to be decided by the community. And because this is going to be based on the actual content of the chat. So, so that's the first piece. Another piece of the discussion was actually around the idea that we've been tossing back and forth regarding relevant topics, which is what we just kind of did, which is issues happening outside of the game in the Destiny community. While normally, like I said at the beginning of it, normally our approach on Focus Fire Chat is to allow our partners over on Guardian Radio and Guardian One hash these out. There are a few times that we feel like it is something that we would like to weigh in on as well. Example is like the one that we just had, this week's update from Bungie regarding the state of Destiny 2 and their plans for the December update and what we can expect for 2018. Those are kind of big deals for us as well as everyone else in the community. But I do want to reiterate that, note here that this will not be a common addition, but basically it's just something that we might do from time to time at the start of the episode. So this is not a new practice. I know this was kind of a long-winded introduction piece, but it's not going to be the norm. It's just if there is something that is very big happening and we all agree on the podcast team to weigh in on it, I want to be clear that there might be some episodes that we do that on. But that being said, let's go ahead and run into the intro for our topic, and we won't get right into it because we're a little bit behind, but we'll get into it.
Oh, we don't.
Our topic for this week's chat is going to be a look at hunters. Before we jump into that, however, I do have a few housekeeping notes to run through. In our last chat, we discussed exotic weapons. If you ever miss an episode and would like to catch up, please be sure to check out the new FocusFireChat.com for archives, articles, and links to the other aspects of Focus Fire Chat. If you don't mind, please give us some feedback on iTunes to let us know how we're doing, as well as helping us continue to grow. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering, where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. This chat begins every Tuesday morning and runs until the following Tuesday, with topics decided by the group via a poll that begins every Friday and ends on the Tuesday morning of the new chat. Every Friday at around 10 p.m. Central, we get together to stream a recap of the previous week's chat for those who are unable to participate. Please be sure to also give some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network, links of which can be found in our show notes or on our website. Podcasts focused on Destiny include Guardian Radio, the first and longest-running Destiny podcast on the net, Guardian One, a Destiny group dedicated to Guardians helping Guardians and discussing current Destiny news and happenings, Ghosts and Echoes, which is a collection of the Destiny audio grimoire from Destiny 1, and the network's newest edition, The Guardian Life, which is a podcast for the casual Guardian's perspective that highlights all Guardians, large and small. We also have some non-Destiny focused podcasts. Paragon Radio is a podcast that focuses on the news and events in Epic Games MOBA, Paragon and their community, and The Enthusiast Life, which is a podcast discussing a wide range of fun topics from the entertainment world. Our next chat is going to be a discussion on the power of hope, so be sure to weigh in on the poll this weekend to let us know what topic you want to discuss after that. Links to that poll can be found on either Twitter @FocusFireChat or within our Discord server. I went ahead and asked Green to put together a high-level summary of tonight's topic, and this is what she had to say.
Hunters are agents of stealth and lethality. They like to backstab people. Mentions of hunters in the Destiny universe tend to coincide with scouts, exploring areas that no one else may have touched since the collapse. Within their ranks, many notable figures stand out. Some more than others. The Kate Six, Andelbrask, Eris, and Bahanan are just a few. I like Efrigate better. She threw a Titan into a walker. Never backing down from a challenge, many have been known to get into some difficult situations. The Kate Six has needed rescuing a total of redacted times. You made me pinky promise, whatever that is. But they are a highly adaptable class, even learning things that would typically be better suited for a warlock if it proves useful to them. You can say that they are the most practical of classes, albeit unorthodox.
Before we jump into the information and thoughts that the community had about hunters, however, let's take a look at this week's Lost Lore. So I'm glad that Exodus Green's failsafe made an appearance. Who was that in chat? Was that dancing?
That was so good.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
So very good.
That was better than Justin's pun line. I'll put it that way.
I'll agree with that. That's pretty dang good.
Hey, I still complimented Justin, just to be clear, okay?
Well, given that our intro ran a bit long, I figured we'll do a very short Lost Lore, and I kind of want to talk about some of the hunter groups that we might or might not know about in Destiny 2. It depends on how fast you delete some of the armor. And so the first one that I wanted to talk about is a group called Dead End Cure, or DEC. And basically this is a group of, I believe it's called iterant hunters. And there are two people that we know who are in the DEC, and we don't know their names. We just know that one is called the First Brother and the other is the First Sister. Now, we know this is a title because obviously it's a title, but we also know from the cloak, so the armor set is Dead End Cure 2.1, and the cloak is, I just blanked on that one.
It's also 2.1.
Is it 2.1 as well?
No. The cloak? Where is the cloak? You don't have the cloak here. I'll look for it while you talk.
Boogers. Yeah, I know. It's just whatever. Far Gone Hood. That's the one I wanted. The Far Gone Hood says that this is a cloak that is worn by First Brothers and Sisters of the Dead End Cure, a notorious posse of iterant hunters. The cool thing that I found about the Far Gone Hood is actually the emblem, which, I'm sorry, I see a Nern root. That's because I play Elder Scrolls way too much. But but I don't really know what it is. I can't see anything other than a Nern root. I was actually hoping one of you guys could help me with that one.
On the back of the cloak?
Yeah. It's like a weird it's like a weird flower. Let me see. I think if you guys are in stream.
It is, yeah.
I've actually got it on, Blue.
Yeah,
I've got it on.
I have it on, or I have it in stream right now. It looks like a nerd root.
Oh, so you're doing it.
Justin's wearing it.
I'm wearing it.
He's wearing the thing.
With pizzazz.
And he's running away to make it difficult to look at it.
So
that makes us easy.
That makes us easy. No, now we have to catch Justin and then talk about the item.
It turned into a game.
I'm still used to all this playing while we're doing this. Oh, okay.
But yeah, so it looks like it could be a lotus.
Yeah, I see lotus or like a grasshopper type imagery.
Mantis.
I still see
with the wings on the with the wings on the back. I think more of like a I don't know if I'd say a mantis. It definitely looks more like a cricket or a grasshopper.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely insectoid, I think.
Definitely insectoid of some kind, yeah. Which granted, that still goes along with the way that hunters hold themselves. Like they're out in the wilds all the time. They go along with these kinds of ideas. They like to be in the wild. They like to stay in the wild. They don't like going back to the tower, poor Cade. It's just all these little things that you find on their armor is either from animals or something else. But I think if it's a plant, it's a weird looking plant.
Well, I mean, Nernroot. Which, once you said that, that's all I stinking saw.
Right? I'm sorry, but that's literally all Chad is saying that it's a squid.
Well, I mean, we have examples of that, but it's I don't know.
Ooh,
Justin's excited. Justin's excited.
Could it be a gorgon from the front? Little tendrils hanging down?
It could be a lot of things. I think we have a Rorschach test going on.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I was going to make that comment. Actually, is like I think at that point, if you start saying you could turn it, we're going to get a lot of interesting questions because it also could be a starfish of death.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Thou shalt save us, and I'll whisper, no.
Yes.
Damn. Darn you, Space Bane. Why?
I was going with a Rorschach.
The Rorschach
line there.
I got where you were heading with it.
Oh no.
So
that's my name for him.
Oh, that's yours.
Oh, that's yeah.
Where is Space Bane anyway?
I killed him.
I killed him. The other group that I kind of wanted to mention is the Icarus Drifters, and this is kind of it's a bit of an interesting one. We have 4 individuals. We have Adriani Gris, Blue Boaz, Shun Indo, and Talu Fairwind, and these are all pretty. I will be clear, we don't know for certain that they are hunters, but the armor itself is only hunter armor. So this could be another, I'm just going to be transparent here. It could be another Drudge and Yor situation. Ever since that happened, I'm not really trusting of what names go where on items, but I'm just, whatever. But the Icarus Drifters, they're definitely racers. And apparently they're really notorious for pissing off Holiday because they constantly are destroying the engines of their sparrows. The other one that they've been known to annoy is how do you say that? Ariadne is on the Dionys Imerus, which is the it's not the exotic, but it is a legendary sparrow. Or is it is
one of the exotic sparrows.
It is an exotic sparrow?
It's a hilarious read,
God,
too, if you get a chance
so
to read
much
it.
funny.
It's hysterical. It gives so much more like diversity into the culture of like what's going on, where you've got New Monarchy that's like completely uptight, and you've got the other 2 looking at New Monarchy going, What are you talking about here? And then you've got Ikora just like, can we just go this way, please? I'm done with this.
I'm
way done with this.
Focus. Yeah.
Why does your Sparrow have a dragon on it? Because they're
really
cool.
And I'm not going to spoil the punchline if you haven't read it.
Oh, yeah.
But my goodness, the punchline of that card is so worthwhile.
It is. So that's the lore entry is Dionysus Icarus, and it's, I mean, yeah, Grizzly's right. It's absolutely hilarious. You also have Blue Boaz. He is mentioned on another Sparrow with the Wind Shrike. And then Shun Indo is mentioned on Chronoglass. And then Talo Fairwind is actually only mentioned on the armor piece, and that's the Icarus Drifter Grips. And it's basically, again, a challenge. These are definitely racers. You just read them. This is definitely a crowd that Marcus Wren would hang out with. That type of personality there.
The one that I love the best is the vest. The vest lines with Blue Boaz.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't believe the solar flare I caught the other day. Rode it halfway to Venus. It's like, oh, that sounds amazing. Can we have that in the next SRL, please? I would like to ride on a solar flare.
It's like, what that honestly reminds me of. Have any of you seen The Expanse?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a betting game. So The Expanse it's a kind of a sci-fi drama, but there's a betting game that basically they launch people in escape pods and they see how long they can survive in space riding solar winds and gravitational fluxes and stuff. That's the first thing that came to mind was this guy is a nod to that, which I'm sure it's not, but it was, oh man. So yeah, yeah. Now, chat. 2 words: Sparrow jousting. Don't let them
2
read
words.
it.
Why not?
I was going to say, don't let them read it.
But all right,
love that line.
So that's really the Lost Lore for me this week. I think was the 2 groups, that we had for hunters. Again, those are the Dead End Cures or the DEC. And then the Icarus Drifters. We do have 2 other groups that were mentioned. We haven't had any updates of them that I'm aware of in Destiny 2. From Destiny 1, we have the Shadow Jacks and the Shadow Smiths. I haven't seen anything new on them, particularly in Destiny 2 just yet. I have been kind of keeping an eye out for them because I'm interested in the Shadow Smiths especially. But other than that, I think let's jump into the meat of this tonight's topic, and I think we're going to focus mostly on the subclass because I think that's going to be a big when we're talking about updates. I think that's going to be the big bonus here, or the big point. God, I can't. Words are hard. So let me cue up Justin's good friend over here.
Lorebot 2.0 activated. Query received. Interfacing with expanded database directory. Response received. Displaying on screen for review.
I know, Justin. I know you love the new Randy.
New and improved Randy. Thank you.
So real quick, I want to first start off with the big shout out to Crucible Radio for episodes 126 and 127. They had Claude and John on from Bungie, and Claude Jerome is actually he actually does a lot of work. Actually, I think he is responsible for the majority of work on the subclasses. So he actually went into kind of detail about the inspiration for all the things. And he actually really spent a lot of time talking about the Arcstrider and the inspiration behind the Arcstrider in those 2 episodes. And, just in general, I think you should be listening to those episodes anyways, but especially for this particular thing, you should definitely check those out. But the other thing to remember is that in Destiny 2, we really are seeing a refocusing of the hunter as a presentation of being a class that specializes in agility, which is basically being quick on their feet and having a strong sense of wanderlust, which kind of drives them to be constantly exploring. You also see a really big emphasis on a lone wolf playstyle. More than the other two classes, which kind of are team oriented. That is also in line with what Claude kind of calls the fantasy of this class, is that they are kind of loners. They will team up when necessary, but they are usually the lone wolves in the wilds. And that is where the dodge, the class ability. So the new concept in Destiny was really the game mechanics, and the way that the game mechanics drove the furthering of the fantasy story of these particular classes and subclasses. And again, this is something that Claude really goes into depth on in the Crucible Radio episodes. And it actually explains a lot about why the subclasses were designed the way that they were. I know a lot of people have been like, well, we used to be able to mix match the perks and everything, and why can't we do that anymore? They explain it very well. But the class ability for the hunter is the dodge. And really what this is that it's basically something that is well suited to lone wolf playstyles, and its focus is on mobility. And you have two flavors of this. You have the marksman's and the gambler's dodge. Marksman is basically you get a free reload, and then gamblers is you get a free recharge of the melee ability when you're near an enemy. So basically, again, do you like to be further away, or do you like to be in the thick of things? That's the point of the dodge. I'm actually going to turn it over. Who wants green? Justin, which one of you wants to take the gunslinger?
Yeah, I can take the gunslinger.
The gunslinger?
Right. Yeah.
Did you bring your quarters?
Yes. So gumballs for all. The gunslinger is a devastating ranged fighter with heavy focus on direct damage. It favors accuracy and finesse over raw aggression. And it has two ways about it, just like the Archstrider. First is Way of the Outlaw. It allows for wilder playstyles, featuring an explosive melee ability and a golden gun that has more forgiving aim, as well as an increased number of shots, 6, at the cost of the duration of the super. And then you have Way of the Sharpshooter. Focuses on precision for more disciplined playstyles, rewards more steady hand, especially with the golden gun's increased damage for precision shots. So, it's with the gunslinger, obviously, the aesthetic and the kind of the theme is the Wild West gunman. And it's probably my favorite out of all of them, if I'm completely honest, although I do love Night Stalker.
Yeah. I miss trip mines. Trip mine grenades.
making unicorns, dude.
I miss making unicorns all night. Like, that was the thing that I would do. That's how I survived Iron Banner all of D1, is I would just throw trip mines at people's faces and got really good at it.
Did you ever see the Crota video where the guy throws the trip mine at the sword bearer and it ends up sticking to the sword? Then he goes and picks up the sword and his own trip mine and blows him up.
No, I didn't.
That's pretty good.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that where it stuck, but
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. As far as the changes go on the gunslinger, I like that they have 6 shots. I do feel like they run out very quickly. As far as like the actual physical mechanics of it go.
Well, I think they wanted it to feel more like a firing from the hip gunfighter than a roaming, flaming sniper.
Right. This is true.
Like you would pop it real quick and bang, bang, bang is what they want you to do. Like, the fan, the hammer technique from the last word.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the aesthetic they want to go for and the play style with it, which is fine by me. I mean, no one likes to have a golden gun pop and then see him running around 30 minutes later still smoking people.
I'd be okay with that, but
Well, not if you were on fire, Green.
No, that would hurt.
Oh man, there was someone who sent me a message, and I can't find it right now. But they made the comment that, and I haven't really played much. I'm like you, Justin. Unlike you, Justin, I actually pretty much exclusively play Night Stalker. But the super in the Gunslinger, depending on the way, someone made the comment that if you do the way of the outlaw, it is the last word, but if the way of the sharpshooter, it's Hawkmoon.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's like, but
it doesn't.
Like that.
That's what they were saying was they think it does. And so I don't know. Like I said, I basically unlocked Gunslinger long enough to unlock it and get the achievement, and then I just turned it back off. I don't play Gunslinger.
I think you could probably go last word and first curse, probably.
Okay. I mean, and I guess I was just asking, have you noticed any difference in the super manifestation for those?
No.
Look.
Visually, no.
Okay.
I would just like to say, what's a hunter?
That's okay. Just wait till we get to the Warlock episode.
Yeah,
we're just gonna pat you on the head then and let you go.
I'm gonna say you'll just be like, here you go, here's a treat. Let's talk about Warlocks. Okay, let's do it.
As I sit back in the night. No.
So I'm gonna actually give that like real fast on like my use on Hunter. Hunter is the only other thing that I can really play. I really can't get into Titans, but I have yet to start my Hunter for lack of really liking what anything looks like anymore on.
Oh God, don't get us started on that one.
Okay.
For a class that's
Fest?
Oh God, for a class who's supposed to be so yes, I was about to say, for a class that's supposed to be so focused on fashion, they definitely handed that mic over to the Warlocks for Destiny 2. Like it was though I'm not lying, the Errant Knight and the Jinsum Knight armor sets are pretty acceptable.
Right.
That stuff looks okay. Yeah, definitely. But even just looking past the way that they look, like I don't know what it is. I loved Night Stalker in D1, and the little bit that I played of it in D2, I just feel kind of like, well, I don't know.
Oh, see, I like. Oh my gosh, man! If you we'll get into this a little bit. But
Okay.
Answer to that question is Orpheus Rigs. Orpheus Rigs.
Yeah,
oh my!
I don't have yet. I don't have yet.
I'm still looking for those too.
Oh my God, they're so nice. But Green, I'm going to give a big shout out to Green on this one because Green has done an immense amount of work getting and kind of putting together recordings of Destiny 2. Let's just call it what it is, and pretty much Destiny 2. Like the entire thing, everything. That being said, do you want to do the honors and kind of talk through the subclass mission on Gunslinger?
We can. One of the things that I wanted to bring up is this mission or this series of missions, except for the Arc Strider, because that's just that opening mission. But these missions are very much so diving back into lore in D1. There's not a whole lot of new material in it. What we get is a lot of stuff about the Dust Palace, and let's see here. Kay talks about the Dust Palace and the Scions. Then you get the story read by a female voice, which I don't recognize the voice.
I don't recognize the story.
That one? Do you think it's new? Because I read that story as being what's her name, who had the gunslinger shots on the Six Fronts map, I want to say.
The Twilight Gap is
Twilight Gap. That's what it. Yeah,
it's the.
I don't know if it's her or not, but
I don't think that's her.
No?
This is the
This
is the scout that Cade has.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
I think it's in the Hunter 2 card, if I remember right.
Is
But
that
we
the-
see her 2 places. There's the
Mars
the
and
one-
then
and then
Mars
hunting
and
Draxus down.
yeah, Draxus, and then the Rusted Lands. No,
Yeah,
what was
there
that Crucible map?
Can't
Twilight
remember what
Gap.
it was, but
Twilight Gap was where Anna Bray was,
Correct.
but Rusted Lands was definitely one of them, I believe.
But a warlock came back from that, I believe. That was the only one that survived of that little attack from the hive, if I recall right.
The
I'd
thing
have to
that
look again.
gets me on this one, though, is when you get to the Warlock Challenge,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of my favorite moments, and the fact that this is for sure a gunslinger at this point, which I don't know if we ever had confirmation, but the story is, for anybody who doesn't know the story of the Warlock, the Warlock Challenge is you hear about this Warlock and this Hunter that are basically sitting in a bar, and this Warlock is telling his story and saying, like, all these different things. Like, you wouldn't ever be able to handle an Ahamkara, essentially.
Mhm.
And he's just elaborating
Well, he's also drunk.
and drunk and elaborating with maybe some help from a certain bone that he's carrying.
I was going to say.
had a bone to pick.
He did have a
Said,
bone to pick.
Kara, you couldn't handle a hum sandwich.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Oh, God. Why with the puns?
Beard.
Right.
Justin, Beard.
Yep. Yep.
You knew what you was getting into.
Yeah.
There was-
I should
we
have.
had
I should have.
We had tape on this.
Yes.
Was it police line? Don't cross.
yeah.
That was what was redacted in the contract. So the Warlock says, think of how mysterious the system is, I said. How much life sprang up when the Traveler came, like the Ahamkara. Do you know the legends? The dragon that made promises? And that is singular, by the way. That one caught me off guard, because that is absolutely singular in the text. And I pulled out the fossil with a flourish. She pulled out her knife and started to pick the dirt from her nails. That set me off. You could never have brought down one of these, I said. Even ever. Not the greatest hunter, not the brawniest titan. Her eyes narrowed. She said, "Oh, is that so?" And I saw right then and there she wasn't going to pass on the challenge. And then later on in D1, you find out that she possibly got a Ahamkara in some of the items, which is amazing.
Jill Shar was so proud of that.
Mhm.
I love it. No.
And
Told the Warlock I could do it.
Yeah.
But the only other one that is in there besides the story of the girl on Mars.
That is from Ghost Fragment Hunter, and that is the hunting down of Draxus. So, Beard, you were right on that one, Beard.
Nice. The other one is where Cade is accused of being Rasputin, which I think personally I find that slightly out of context.
Yeah.
Besides for the fact that Cade is primarily a gunslinger, I find that mentioning out of context for the mission.
Some of the subclass like lessons or whatever I don't really understand where they're going with them, because I don't other than this is like an example of a golden gun, like the first one, the Draxus, the first one is the Dust Palace.
Right.
Not really sure why that's in there. Like, it has nothing to do with a gunslinger. Draxus is the use of a golden gun. Then you have the Warlock, and the Hunter, which not really anything to do with the gunslinger. And then the Rasputin thing. Not really anything. I'm like, it's like, I remember sitting there and I'm like, I'm like, but why are you telling me this? Like,
well, I mean, the information we get that doesn't really lead to like an actual gunslinger is about Cade. The line where Cade says, because, or what would they talk about Rasputin and those creatures? Because I was a servant too. I was an instrument of war bound to the will of a lesser master. But I learned to be something more.
The delivery on that changed my entire reading of that card.
Uh-huh.
Like, completely changed my reading of that card.
Mm-hmm.
It made it much more ominous in my mind.
But it's a tie between whether it's Rasputin, possibly, and Cade as the primary lesson that we're getting in this one. I mean, it's not necessarily a straight gunslinger lesson, but Cade is our mainly gunslinger. That is what his main subclass is.
I almost feel like this would have been a great opportunity as more of a side note to like introduce another past legend like Shin Malfur. They had nothing on that end, and meanwhile, I can at least, or Anna Bray. I gotta say we could have had like a Shax scene towards the end there with the wolf, doggo wolf. We could have had something else there with Shax talking about how Anna Bray caused the pools of light.
Right.
The only thing that I can figure that they were trying to do here is to at least establish that these things are still within lore and still within the story.
Right.
So Andelbrask is still a thing, Rasputin is still a thing, because all through the initial game and all through the main game, the only thing that I can figure, we don't really hear about Rasputin. We don't really hear too much about Andel or anything else. So these are the little quips and tie-ins of like how you have to kind of figure these names again. That's all I can figure anyway.
I can see that. It just, to me, it just was kind of.
It's still weird.
It was like it just felt disjointed. Like it was kind of a weird, and I loved I loved everything about like how they did it. It was the subclass missions are. I absolutely love that. I love that presentation of it. Especially since it's kind of like the shard is the one that's teaching you, not a particular mentor. I thought that was a really cool change up, because no one has light anymore, right? You know, it's the shard is basically re-educating you on this stuff. And
what's interesting is the shard remembers. That I find fascinating.
Right, and that's kind of like
about these legends without being part of the original traveler, like having been there at the same time.
All light is connected.
I know.
But I guess, and that's really honestly my bone to pick with the only thing that I had was I was going through it and I'm like, I'm like, I remember that Grimoire card, but why? Like, what's going on here?
Well, maybe that's just it. It's still to show, and granted, this is still the same with the other subclass missions that we see. Is there is this disconjointed segmenting that feels like it, and granted, you're going to have that with of course the Traveler being the sharded mess that it is.
That's fair enough.
But Justin, you had something to add on that?
Oh yeah, I just viewed it more as being kind of scattered memory engrams, kind of like somewhat like the Assassin's Creed memories. More than, but just instead of having those being kind of like Beard was saying, instead of having them be in any sort of structured or organized way, they're kind of scattered to the wind, and well, not scattered to the wind, but they're just jumbled. They're just jumbled. And I think what you're getting in the presence of this shard of the Traveler is kind of disjointed, randomly associated memory engrams, which may be associated in ways we're not putting together,
right?
Because they clearly chose these cards. You know, I mean, it would have been real easy to choose really blade dancery type things for the Arc Strider and you know, prototypical gunslinger things for the gunslinger. I mean, adding the thing about Rasputin was very deliberate, I thought.
And say one could say that they're dead ghost fragments.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. Green would.
Sorry, Green.
No, you're okay. The only thing I was going to mention to kind of finish out this one before we move on is, as with every subclass, second subclass mission, whether it's Titan or Warlock, you fight the Fallen on this one, which I find a little interesting. Less interesting than the Taken being there in the third subclass mission, which we'll get to in a bit, but I find it interesting that both the Shard, because the Shard brings you in, like it leads you there in a very somewhat reminiscent Taken portal, even though it's not the same as the Taken portal at all, because it is a circular portal, or like a little, not conical, it's like a really bodily type shape. And it reminds me a lot of Taken, and I know it's meant to be a very similar thing to like the Taken portals, but at the same time, it's not exactly the same because it doesn't have the structure around it. Because if all the Taken portals that led us to the Ascendant realm, we had to walk through a structure, a frame. This one is not.
That's true. It's a tear, but it's not like that opens up a lot of interesting possibilities, actually.
Right. It's just something I noticed the other day. It's like, okay, this is not quite the same, guys.
The other thing that I noticed is, I mean, and I know some have made this comment, but the city that you see within the portal. Guys, do you remember? Did you guys notice that? It was kind of interesting.
No, I don't think I did.
So, like, if you before you jump into the individual portals, if you look into them, I noticed, at least on the Voidwalker one, because that's the one I just did, the city doesn't really change. The viewpoints change as you change portals, but within the same portal, it didn't change. But you can walk around the portal and look into the portal, and like with the Voidwalker one, it was like a courtyard. And as you walked around, it changed the angle of perspective of that particular courtyard, based on, like where you were looking. So there is something that was being, and it's not like when you go through it and you actually travel through the portal, it's not like you're looking at where you're going. It is a completely different place, because there is the one with the Voidwalker. Again, this is the one I just played last night. The one with the Voidwalker is like this bright green courtyard that looks very lush and very vibrantly, well off. And then you go through it, and of course it's, the dead zone. That's not lush and growing. But I know that a couple people have made comments about it, but I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on those. I don't remember if they change. I think they changed, but I'm not sure what each one is.
They do from class to class, if I recall right.
They? Okay.
But after that, even from having replayed the Warlock again, I know the Warlocks will stay the same.
Okay.
But it looks either very similar to some of the areas on what was I forget the camp out in out on Venus, but it looks very similar out by Endless Steps.
Inland,
I think it was.
Yeah.
I
can see that.
But that's the first thing I thought of. Either that or a segment of like the garden of some kind, which again has entirely different implications. But the portion on Venus would make a little bit more sense because of the portal that's kind of close by over there, especially too considering the other connections that kind of exist with other people that have been around there,
right?
Or other Guardians that have been around there. So that's my at least partial thought there. That in the separated pieces of the Traveler should have some indication or knowledge of like what is happening with those planets or worlds. So that's why I'm not too sure I would want to go as far as to say it would be a garden, but at least one of the planets for sure.
All right. And then do you guys want to jump to Arcstriders?
Yeah, we can do that. The Arcstrider is a close quarter specialist who thrives in group combat. It features some nice area of effective options and heavy focus on melee attacks, and it relies on speed for survivability because they are squishy. The Way of the Warrior is one of the two ways that they have, and it is a heavy focus on melee attacks. Everybody gets a handshake with a knife, which makes it essential when short-range damage is a priority. The Way of the Wind is the second one, and its overall focus on survivability through utility, with abilities that disorient enemies, increase sprinting speeds, support ability use, and improve evasion, which, when I play Arcstrider, that's actually the one I focus on the most, because I like to jump around like a maniac to get away, but it doesn't work on a lot because they're floofy, and I end up dying midair. Anyway, that's
They say the warlocks are the floofy ones.
God, it's just you don't go anywhere fast. That's the thing that drives me crazy. I want to get down now. But Arcstrider's subclass mission is exactly the same as every other first mission. There's nothing different. You fight the same guys. You get to the Traveler, the Shard, the same way. It's all Fallen.
Right.
I don't remember the name of the boss. I'll have to go and look that up, because that is one of my next projects when it comes to cataloging all of Destiny 2, is getting all the named enemies.
Good luck with that one. My goodness.
It's going to be a huge project. But I like the Arcstrider. I like it better than the Blade Dancer. And I know that's a slightly unpopular opinion, but I like the fact that I have a smash now and not just dashy all over the place, because lock-on aim is terribly difficult in this game, apparently.
Right. Well, and like the Hunter itself, it kind of it improvises in a lot of ways. I think that's one thing about the Arcstrider I've kind of liked. It does have this methodology, just a little bit that I played with it, where one swing will lead to another, and just movement is all meant to be completely flowing. And that's what I always consider a hunter to be, just this, performing
Tai Chi
flips, Tai Chi or something like that over everything. Running at like a larger enemy, fanning the hammer at like three of them, and then rolling over one of the others and like stabbing them in the back with something else. Something of that notion. If we're going to go full Hollywood on this, the biggest thing though that kind of stands out that's weird to me in a way though is they didn't really get rid of the knife. They just put it on the end of a pointy stick.
I'm okay with that.
So one stupid thing that I don't know if we have ever kind of covered or talked about at all, the formation of the fact that all of these items, all of the subclasses in the beginning are physical.
Physical as in like an item that you use when you summon it?
Right, something to that thinking. I'm looking at Saladin in this particular case, if you will, because when he uses his super, quote-unquote, because we don't really know if it is or not, he forms the Iron Axe. Mm-hmm. And when we see it with a couple of the other guys, then we see, we see the Golden Gun, which is possibly another formation of that, or is it just a conduit for that solar energy to go through, and it really isn't a formation of an actual physical gun? Or is it something else? Is the shield that the Titans wield an actual shield? Is the sword the Warlock? I always want to call them Dawn Callers because I'm thinking Sunsinger all the time. But that's the Dawn Blades. Is it a physical sword like we see with Osiris, where he uses his? And this question permutates from one big thought. And that is if they are in fact of like an ancient guardian culture, if you will, where Saladin himself is able to conjure up a physical item, is that why this Shard of the Traveler decides to conjure up this form of the light? And that is the only way that it knows how to use it, until we end up presenting it with these different things and different items that we have to then find around the other worlds.
I would say the reason why we get the particular subclasses that we have, first off, they are, and I guess the Night Stalker in some ways too, they are the most rudimentary of weapons. A shield, something to duck behind, a sword, something to stab something with, and basically a pole to also stab something with or poke in the eye, whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're very rudimentary. They're something that and the sword is a little bit more difficult, but it's not a gun. It's not a giant, like, floating ball chasing you. It's not a striker, just a ton of energy. I mean, those would be the most rudimentary, but at the same time, it's a very wild feel and kind of harkens back to what you were talking about with Saladin's blade, or his little axe, his solar axe that he had in D1.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a very rudimentary style of attack.
Right.
But I don't know if that's necessarily why they would do something like that, but it seems like a harken back to an older time.
And I mean, we have certain things and instances. Of course, we know that Timur uses Storm Trance. We know that Fellwinter uses Nova Bomb. I think, yeah, he does. And several other things that otherwise exist as part of the culture of the Iron Lords.
Right.
But they're the first ones that we see that are able to end up conjuring these weapons in this mannerism, and we do see that the way that the Arcstrider, the lore entry, I think itself says it, that it is like an old ancient technique. Mm-hmm. It is, no one remembers who the Arcstrider was. Hardly anyone remembers the Arcstrider at all. Time vanished us like it does memories. But in the darkest days of the Dark Ages, when humanity was utterly defenseless, Arcstriders disciplined their bodies to let the traveler's energy flow through them, to call lightning itself to hand and wield it like a staff against the darkness. So in this respect, it's the same kind of idea as what Saladin is doing, where he does form his solar energy, if you will, into a physical format. But we don't necessarily see a lot of that later on. If it's an ancient format, then why was it that it was apparently like lost to time in that regard? That's my question.
Right.
That's where, like, if it was such a rudimentary idea, then why is it that hunters ended up giving up on it and they turned to something like the Blade Dancer by all accounts?
Well, it may have been something lost just because the hunters were not known to group up into the city. But the shield, I mean, if we're going to get into that kind of debate, the Titan shield as well kind of falls into that. It doesn't make sense because the Titans were in the city the whole time, essentially.
Right. Well, and the sword doesn't make a whole ton of sense in that respect either for the Warlock, because really the last thing I would end up associating with a Warlock would be a sword of some kind. That doesn't seem like the weapon of choice, if you will, even for unless you really want to start saying that they are just the Jedi of the time. But I don't really connect them too much that way. Justin, you had something?
No, I just wanted to. I think there's a pretty good chance that these are the rudimentary arts. You know, it does happen. The old way of doing things does get lost. And I think it's only natural that the progression go from, in the beginning, the manifestations of the light were very rudimentary. I mean, grab this stick, you know what I mean? Like, and then they became more sophisticated with practice. The next thing you know, we're making two knives. And the next thing you know, we're making, a projectile firing gun with moving parts. And it does kind of make sense how it would be lost in the case of the hunter, just because of their solitary nature and just kind of the way that character type's built up. The Warlock, it doesn't make as much sense because they're very big on chronicling everything. And I kind of feel you on the sword. You might have felt like a scepter or a staff was a better fit. But then again, is that too much like
Well, that means
bow,
we have to
the
move
bow?
a lot faster. But the other thing to think about with them is that these types of manifestations, if we go back to Blue's thought that each of the supers are a ritual based off of your like personality, right? That's one of the things that he's talked about on a couple of different episodes, that it is a ritualistic set of movements or concepts that you perform each time that you cast a super.
Right.
If you kind of get into that mind thought, it could be lost just in so much as the development, the getting a stronger sense of arc would develop and give you the blade instead. Like, you may be more sophisticated in the blade than you would be with your bow staff or whatever. I don't know. There's lots of different things you could go with in this one. There's not like a real set lore explanation, unfortunately.
And also you have the unhappy argument that at some point game mechanics will not always resolve
with lore.
Lore explanation. We will try to make that happen, but
yes, within reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it is definitely a mystery that we need to kind of see evolve, I think, or one that could go along with it. But it's just the weird impetus behind it, where the more it seems, the further back you go, the more the light seems to need to manifest in a physical way, and then the later out that you go, it seems that it has to manifest into this force, and it can be channeled like a force, because the void bow, though a quote unquote physical thing, is still complete void. I don't see a physical bow that appears from that. And that's where the argument could also be of like Gunslinger as well, where it also looks like it's just a manifestation. It's not an actual weapon, but
go
ahead.
No worries. And then that's something that's a kind of a perfect segue to get into Night Stalker itself, because in the Night Stalker subclass mission, it mentions that the Night Stalker bow is not something that manifests first, unlike the Golden Gun. The Golden Gun manifests first in your hand, and then you take time to aim and shoot.
Right.
With a bow, it is you aim first and shoot second. I mean, that sounds kind of weird.
Even draw second.
Yeah, you draw the bow second.
Yeah, you would always aim first and shoot second. But
I don't know. I bought my Golden Gun and run around like a goofy person. So, but Beard, do you want to take Night Stalker, or Blue? Are you okay over there?
Yeah. Sorry, computer decided to try to die.
Be a jerk.
Yeah,
welcome
computers.
to my world.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, I think that the Night Stalker really is a good kind of answering to kind of what you were talking about with the physical thing. Real quick, the Night Stalker is a class or a subclass that favors deception over aggression. And you see that with the selection abilities that disorient, suppress, slow, and even weaken enemies. You have that in two different flavors, if you will. The Way of the Trapper and the Way of the Pathfinder. The Way of the Trapper is the focus on survivability through utility. So you have proximity triggered traps. Your sprint and sneak speed are boosted. You get to go invisible. It is the only subclass that gets to go invisible. And then Way of the Pathfinder is still offering utility, but actually focuses more on damage. So it is actually a little bit more aggressive, especially with the Mobius Quiver. So Mobius Quiver is the one that most who played Night Stalker in D1 are pretty familiar with. That is the quiver, so it's multiple shots with the same super. As far as the subclass mission, this is the third. This is the one that you get to fight all the Taken in. And, it's back to the Force, go back to grandma's house we go. And so basically the scenes, I guess, are, I don't know, Green, you have it here as Tyra's voice. Was that intentional?
That is from Ishtar Collective, is where luckily I found that one. They did have this one already laid out as far as the transcription. I am not 100% certain it's Tyra's voice.
I don't know.
It's difficult to decide.
But yeah, so anyways, I see you haven't changed much, Portal. Still huge and scary. So the first one is the quote that you guys were talking about. The quote goes, "It's very simple. You reach into the void, past visions of your own death and the extinction of your life, past fears and nightmares, and take what you find. I don't know why every hunter doesn't do it." And this kind of goes in line with what Tevis was saying in one of the one of the training quotes that he has about why Night Stalkers are not popular. And it's because you can't be afraid.
They're
that
creepy.
Fear. You can't let that fear dominate you and stifle you. And
right.
That is the one reason that a lot of hunters won't become Night Stalkers. And then they have the next quote where it's all about where you belong. Warlocks have their libraries, Titans have their walls, hunters belong in the wilds, and there ain't nobody as wild as a hunter with a fistful of void. And I think that's actually a quote from Cade. I want to say that's a quote from Cade, but
the first bit is because that's basically the introduction for the hunter for TTK when you go to get Night Stalker. But
right,
the
okay,
last
yeah.
sentence, that's a new one. That I don't recall being.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
At all.
Yeah, I don't.
That one just.
Titans belong in the wilds, though. That's a quote from Cade.
Yes, yeah, that was basically to describe like what is a hunter,
right,
what is a warlock.
Yeah. And then the third piece, or the third lesson, if you will, is the one that you guys were specifically talking about. You take aim before you pull the bow. That's right. It doesn't make sense. It's the void. So you take aim in the middle of a firefight. You line up your shot, and then you pull the bow. Always worth it for the look on their faces. And then you go and you fight all the Taken, and you win. And then the last one that I have is, you hear that from some warlock? No. The void ain't special. It sure is creepier than Solar Arc, that's for sure, but isn't special. Just show it respect. Thank it. Oh, thank it. I honestly kind of think that one of these quotes, I get the feeling, is from one of the new characters that we got introduced to. What's her face? Quantus Ray. She's actually the figure that is on the Night Stalker lore entry card. And she, oh my gosh, if you haven't read the Night Stalker lore entry, definitely do yourself a favor and read it. It's amazing. I love it.
It's like one of the only straightforward ones.
Oh yeah, I know.
Right?
But it's so good. Like the way it describes her rolling void energy across her fingertip or her knuckles. Right. I'm like, yes.
I want to see that animated.
Oh my gosh,
I want that as an emote.
The thing that I imagine in that is the Dark Tower hypnotization, the dancing of the coin. Yeah, and then the Eat My Friends Eat card is a really good one too. But like Night Stalkers, I really think I liked the Taken King presentation of Night Stalkers as far as lore, because Tevis did such an amazing job in his explanation of like what it was, like why Night Stalkers are kind of, even among hunters, Night Stalkers are loners, and there's a reason for that, and that's because of the price that they pay to summon their abilities. Right. I do have a question though, because you guys were talking about the physical not being necessarily physical. So how do you, like, just out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on the Mobius or on the Orpheus rigs? Because the Orpheus rigs literally has a quiver on your hip with void arrows in it. Like in game, like
right.
As I'm walking around, I absolutely love it. But I mean, like, just in perspective of, the super.
The problem is that when you cast the super, you're not casting from anything on this plane. You're reaching into the void and taking something from that area.
Right. Well, you're punching a hole into the void and grabbing a fistful. Yeah, I know. And that's the other, like, I don't know. I don't really understand. Like, I think I just chalk it up to the Orpheus rigs being aesthetically a call to the Night Stalkers.
You could do that, or you could look at something like Sunbracers in a way, or Sunbreakers.
Either one works. Depends on if you want. I love that. I love that card. Don't call him that. It might piss him off.
I love that they at least call back to the fact that no, you're still thinking right. It's okay. This is what we called them last time.
No, you have the right to be confused.
It's like it's okay. But just the idea that it's more of like a channeled idea, I guess you could say, like your grenades are forming additional power through the fact that they have solar stored in them. And I'm almost wondering if it's something not akin to that with the Orpheus rigs, if these quote unquote arrows aren't some kind of channelers. Because as we can argue, and I still will think that this is right, and I think with what we know of the light now at this point with Destiny 2 especially, our ghosts are channelers for the light. We have the availability that we are able to have it and perhaps use it to some effect, but our ghosts are the thing that draw it out further. And in that regard, I'm wondering if this isn't some kind of like amplifier or some kind of stow. That's the only thing that I could really kind of figure in that regard. Something related or akin to like a storing of void energy. Even Nesrex Sins could also work out. Maybe that's why the horns are so profusely, stupidly long. They are just channelers of that void energy, and they focus it into another way in some kind of handling. But that's all I got.
Here's something that I want to bring up. If you bring up the lore tab for the Orpheus rig, doesn't it sound like she is kind of submerged in an area with tons of void?
Hang on. Let me bring it up.
Whoa. I should actually...
Quantus Ray's Orpheus rig. The random Night Stalker that eat my friend. That's the Night Stalker card. Sorry, I flipped those. But see, the thing is like, so Quantus Ray, like she's in Nessus, right? So that's the Orpheus rig card takes place on Nessus. She's basically hunting Vex, and it says light is scarce or scarce. I don't.
But Quantus knows how to find it, how to feel for the unripples of the void, to draw light from the infinities between spaces. She knows how to roll black holes between her fingertips and how to knock her bow within the inescapable gravities of the universe. Soon Quantus will leave this place, return to the city, report her findings, see colors again. But that won't last long. She is a Night Stalker out here, balanced upon the infinitesimal knife's edge, where she truly belongs. So the whole thing, the fact that card says she's on Nessus, but she doesn't see colors, even though Nessus is the most colorful of places we are in an entire game.
It's red!
That just makes me feel... Okay, so I am just utterly confused as to
she's
why
underground.
Nessus in particular.
She's underground in the catacombs.
Part of the times, yeah.
Well, no. But that's what she said. It's saying like she's in the midst of like the cold inhuman labyrinth, the deep shadowed catacombs of Nessus. I mean, she's down underneath where the Vex are burrowing, and there wasn't a lot of fungus in, or whatever, the plant life. There's not
It's
a
just
lot of it
brown.
down there. It's just brown. But I mean, like, yeah, it's. I mean, I just love the rolling of black holes between fingertips. Yeah, I don't know.
I will say she's got the best belt in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is an awesome belt. I want this belt. Anyway.
I also like the fact that she has shaps. Like that to me makes me actually kind of like it.
And the snake emblem is on the
God, the snake
quiver.
emblem. Sneaky snake.
Yeah, we're okay with that.
Hey, Justin. Hey, Justin, I found something about that snake emblem.
What is it?
It's from D1.
What?
That snake emblem made an appearance in D1 in one item. Venom of Akenheka.
Ikaheka.
Whatever. Aka, whatever. Ika.
Was it the intestine snake on that cloak? That would and neon green cloak.
Yes, I think. But the card, the flavor text of it calls out the sigil. The sigil of the snake, said to represent the fluid lethality of a true hunter. So there was mention of the snake emblem in D1. So there's precedence that we would have a snake emblem. So I saw
It's armed with the venom of Hakuna Matata.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it is definitely snake, but it's not the same anatomical layout. But yes, and that is a really snazzy freaking cloak.
Yeah, it's an awesome cloak.
For sure. And what did it say?
I put it in chat if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere simultaneously.
That makes me worry.
I had kind of a.
That makes me worry.
I had kind of a weird idea on Orpheus rigs, and it's kind of ties into what Beard was saying as far as having an aspect to your armor piece that's a focal point.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this and just what we know about the void, and you know how it seems to be most of the beings in Destiny that use the void as a weapon are almost pulling the energy from another plane or another time. What if this is just crazy, but what if the arrows on your leg are the ones you just fired?
That are called back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then why would they not disappear?
Perpetually the arrows
perpetually.
Well, perpetually in a closed loop, and that would explain the exotic's behavior, why it grants your super energy back, because it's basically a set of time travel pants for your Night Stalker.
Time travel pants.
The
sisterhood of the time travel.
No,
pants.
God.
I said it was crazy.
Damn.
I said it was crazy.
I knew that was going to happen.
Time travel pants.
The sisterhood of the time traveling pants.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Any of the void classes utterly make my head hurt with how stinking similar it sounds to, like, it could be something a little bit more menacing, which I know is intentional.
Well, also the name of the perk is Uncanny Arrows, which it's, I don't know. I think I might be on to something. I'm going to go ahead and chalk that up to me being right. Thanks, guys. I'm glad y'all could hear me out.
Well, and it's not like we don't have weapons that don't have that mechanic. I mean, what was that? What was that really cool gun in Destiny 1 that had a mechanic of a time loop cycle?
Vex Mythical Blast.
I don't know. I don't think I have time to explain.
Oh my God. I don't have time to explain what I don't have time to understand.
Yep.
But no, yeah, we're going to lose Justin in the Infinite Forest is what we're understanding here.
Oh,
I can't wait.
It's going to happen.
Speaking of, stupid side note, sounds like No Time to Explain's coming back.
Really?
It's what I keep hearing down the grapevine.
That's interesting.
Is it one of the Vex
Oh, no.
modified?
Okay, sorry. I thought I translated that as No Man's Land. Sorry. Yes.
Oh, No Land Beyond?
Or yeah, No Land Beyond. I don't know why that translated into No Land Beyond in my head, but yes. Okay, no. Yes. I have heard that as well.
Yeah. Which only adds to the whole problem of exited properly, eh?
Well, we have a potential resolution. They just need to connect those dots, and it's not a happy one. It's not a happy one.
No, it's not.
But they haven't formally connected those dots yet. So until they do, I'm hoping that's not
to happen.
I don't want it to happen either.
I don't either.
But
for those at home on that side thought, do you want to give them a quick breakdown of what you were just talking about?
Sorry. There is
that could get lost.
Yeah. Okay. This will get a little convoluted.
Lost in time.
Oh man. There is records of, so the Future War Cult is known to have been involved with the Stranger. Like this is pretty well known from the storyline.
Interested in the Stranger.
No, they've been involved. Excuse me. Because the No Time to Explain exotic weapon, that entire thing, they specifically call out. And then also Praedyth Ghost has Future War Cult records on it. And Lakshmi is able to unlock Praedyth's Ghost, which is that's a whole different tangent. But anyways, there's a big theory that the Stranger and Lakshmi are connected. There's, take your flavor of the connection, but there is a pretty strong likelihood that seems to be there. There is a note, or there's a item in Destiny 2 that speaks about various pieces of an unknown female being found on different areas, and anything from ranging from a hand to a head. And the importance of this is that the reason that we find these records is that there is a conversation going on about how they're trying to scrub those records from the system before another unknown female finds them. And this goes into the concept that Lakshmi is reviewing all the records of the Future War Cult machine, which is what she's kind of doing if you go up to Lakshmi in the tower right now. That computer that's going around, a lot of people are kind of making the argument that that's actually records from the War Cult machine. But so if she's reviewing all these records, there's people within the War Cult who are trying to prevent her from seeing these other instances, these visions, because if that is the Stranger and they just found her disemboweled head on the ground, that might be traumatizing for their fearless leader who has a connection to this individual. So yeah.
The thing is that machine is possibilities of the future.
Right, yeah.
It is not necessarily confirmation in any way, shape, or form. So that's what
I would argue
in some ways.
See, that's where I also kind of argue, because it depends on how far down the hole of multiverses we go. Because if you go full speed into the multiverse theory, that's not possibilities. Those are actual timelines. It's just that's not necessarily ours. Yeah, that's not necessarily the one that we're on. They're potentially
teach me how to step.
Yes, yeah, and that's why I say I don't think that there is a universe in which those timelines are occurring. The question is, will those occurrences become reality in our universe or not? Mm-hmm. Because that's where multiverse gets really confusing, is because they diverge and reconverge on like the choice of what you're going to eat for breakfast. Right. And so, yes. Do you want to do a quick who's?
I think we should, because I think the Stranger was, if you want to do her as a segue, if you looked at her in D1, she was a hunter archetype, even if she may not have been a hunter herself. She had the same stylistic outfit.
She didn't like cloaks though. She liked poncho. Oh wait.
Also, Aldrin too was very huntery.
Beard knows where I was going with that.
Yes, and there's no.
Stop.
I kind of know where you were going, but I do not want to get into it right now. I'm going to ask you after the show because that is not okay, sir.
Look, we're talking spinfoil territory as heck right now.
It's something that's been bugging me. But anyways,
I know.
Actually,
so I have another thought on Hawthorne, but that's a completely different matter.
Yeah. So in game, really the only character that existed from Destiny 1 in game that is in Destiny 2 in game that we have any updates on is really Cade 6, which, surprise, the big things that we get for Cade are the treasure maps, which if you have not done yourself the favor of going back and reading all the treasure maps, take 30 minutes and just do it. They're all on Ishtar, and there's some amazing little nuggets of lore in them.
I say reading? Don't you mean crying at?
Oh no! Those are the journal. That's the journal pages.
The journals, yeah.
The journal pages. Yes, you're gonna cry because, and
poor Ace.
I have a question about that too, because he's not the only character that we've been introduced to in Destiny 2 that remembers his past life. Now, there's a warlock armor that has that, and
where he talks about his son.
No, his wife. He talks about his wife because he sets the armor up to read the memories of anybody who wears it.
There's another one then that I found the other day. We will talk about this later.
But yeah, so there's a reemergence of characters who are remembering past lives, and we don't know if that's new or if that's something that we just haven't discovered yet. So Cade 6 is really the only big name in game that we have any updates in Destiny 2. Out of game, current, or out of it's in game, but you don't interact with them. Really, honestly, the big names that come to mind are let's see.
Icarus?
Eris. I guess Eris is technically out of game. See, I guess I'm trying to think of the characters who are just in Destiny 2. Or did you want to run through all hunters?
Well, there's been mentions of Eris. If you were a veteran, she's mentioned a lot.
Oh, that's true.
In the
if you weren't there
mission.
Places, they still kind of showcase her, which I think is awesome.
A tiny bit, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like the mission text goes, for those of you who remember this little line, if you are new to the game of Destiny, you have different lines than the people who have been playing in year one. In some of the missions, not all of them, luckily. I've noticed the only big one that I've noticed was on Io, which Blue and I talked about the other day. But Eris Morn was a vendor in year one. She also had a thing for taking out the hive, as well as had hive eyes herself. And she's been known to work with the Queen Marasov and Osiris, and maybe be a little bit mad, like a certain warlock that she learned a lot of magic tricks from, Toland. But, she was cool. She's actually one of my favorite characters, and I have a stuffed little Eris Morn that hangs above my desk at work.
Yeah, she had to pluck out her own eyes and put in hive eyes so that she could actually see down there and not, die, and doesn't have a ghost anymore. And her last death is her final death.
And she doesn't like Cade.
No, she doesn't like Cade.
Not many like Cade.
Not really, no. But Cade secretly likes her.
Yeah, methinks she doth protest too much.
Well done.
Oh, that's true. Pahanin is mentioned as well in one of the adventures on Nessus.
Yes. And
Pahanin is also brought up like quite a few times in the
entries.
lore tabs. Yeah. There's Ariana's vengeance.
Yep. That's the one I was going to mention.
Oh, it's still one of my favorite things that they've added. Oh my god. And there's a couple. Ego and Squid. Ego and Squid is Pahanin's ship. So he's actually brought up a few different places, which I think is amazing because he's easily one of the only hunters that I care about. Okay, that's not fair. I like Tevis too.
I was about to say, I'm going to smack you.
How can you not like Cade?
I don't mind
Shiro.
Cade, but okay, Shiro. Shiro, I don't really count as a hunter. I know he's a hunter, but I really don't count him as a hunter. The way that he acts and his mannerisms, oh my goodness.
Is he too serious for you?
Is he a Night Stalker?
I would actually say he's either...
I think he's a blade dancer.
Yeah, that's where I would kind of... Because he fits that scout mentality too much. Plus, Trespasser was also an arc-based weapon, so there is that piece.
Oh, yeah, that's where I was... Because, like, if he was just a scout, I could see him being a Night Stalker, like, primarily. But, like, he's kind of specialized with arc stuff. He had the lucky raspberry.
Yep. And Blade Dancer also had the ability that it could cloak itself versus the Night Stalker where it needed the grenade in order to do so. So if we're going by gameplay terms and by how everything else would handle, I would say Shiro is definitely to me a Blade Dancer of some kind. He had a lot of connections to that. But speaking of Shiro, Shiro 4 is also mentioned by Cade in a couple of lines, common lines out in the tower. And I like that he is. There's also a few unsurfaced lines that apparently he exists in. Which if they're going to bring back Shiro, I will forgive a lot. Like, I'm going to tell you that now.
Aphrodite, I would forgive everything.
Yes, if they would actually freaking talk about her, even if one line, I would be like,
that? Who's that?
Oh, don't. I am.
Best hunter ever to throw a freaking titan into a walker. I'm sorry. That is the best thing. And the fact that she's a pacifist now, it's like, okay, the girl's smart, but she don't mess around.
No. You have never seen her face, which slightly bugs me.
Well, and they make mention of that with the what is it, the one line with Shax, because he goes, "I like Aphrodite. We like our helmets."
I haven't heard that one. I haven't heard that one. That's really great.
Oh, that's my fault then. Yeah, there's a Shax line where that comes up, and it is awesome. It is awesome.
Because that's right. Because Shax is the other one that we've never seen.
Yep. And everybody still debates: is he an exo or a human? Because I think those are the only two possibilities, right? And really, it would kind of filter out that cycle, because you would have Shax the exo, you would have Zavala the Awoken, and you'd have Saladin the human.
That's true.
Yeah, and he does love his frames.
No, that's Cade.
No, Shax and his red jacks.
No, I know, but Cade. Oh, Cade does too.
If we're talking about bringing people back, I think the one person that I missed from D1, more than anyone, and I didn't think I would, was Grandma Emblems.
Eva.
She's still alive.
Eva Labate.
She's still alive.
Oh, I'm sure she's...
No. It's a scannable. She's still around. Which I'm okay.
Yeah.
As long as she's still around.
The only problem is Tess ended up taking up her needs, so now Bungie has to figure out how they want to repurpose her. What?
It's likely that they're going to bring her back during the festivals.
I know. I'm hoping that we see her for the Dawning, since that was like her big festival.
I just want her to give me some rock candy.
I forgot she gave us the candy.
Some ribbon candy.
What's that? Some Guardian candy, as I so eloquently put it.
Go kill things. Go kill things, and they drop candy.
Yeah, kill things, especially fellow Guardians, and I'll turn them into candy.
We just watched Inside Out? Have you guys seen this one? And the imaginary friend that cries candy.
I love it. It makes me so happy. He's like the Snuffleupagus kind of?
Yeah, he's bing bong. Bing bong, bing bong.
Yeah.
And then, the chocolate coin.
Do we have mentions of any of the other hunters? Because there's quite a bit of hunters mentioned in the lore in D1 that I'm not sure are mentioned.
So
in
D2, we do see, I believe Ein Suhu Asa is. Anahara 3, I want to say is. We haven't heard anything of the Dredgens just yet, or at least not that I've seen. Iron Lords, not anything yet, other than just like the general Lords of Iron. Kit Alley, we have an entire set of armor that kind of details out Kit. The question of Kit Alley in the mystery of how she drew a cabal a century before they appeared. That's a fun one. Marcus Wren is amazingly an amazing a-hole who I love. And the reason why is just go read Stompies. Just go read his hand. I love him. He's like, I might be disintegrating. You need to shoot me. Omar, Pahanin, we've already kind of talked about. Yes, he is. I like how they developed him too, because Pahanin from D1 was really presented as like a really hardcore loner that didn't like, they were all, and they kind of talked about this on the Crucible Radio. I think it was the first half. All the old figures were really kind of presented as like these individual entities that didn't really know each other. And so with the ones that we see expanded on in D2, you actually are getting the sense that they actually did not only know each other, but they were kind of friends. For the example being for Pahanin is he's actually the one that introduced Ariana to Wei Ning.
Which is a really great story.
Well, no, oh my gosh,
It's like, aw, it was like meeting.
But what's even better is it was in a pub. Like, but I mean, my point there being is that it was Pahanin in a pub. Yep. Like he wasn't this antisocial. He didn't become antisocial until after the debacle in the vault. And there's tangents down that whole thing.
Especially jokes, a Titan, a Warlock, and a Hunter walk into a bar.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, that. Qantas Ray, we kind of talked about. She's on the Orphis rig. She's a Night Stalker. And Shin, we haven't heard anything. I'm hoping that we hear something from Shin, because if we hear something from...
If they don't do something with Shin, oh my God,
I'm
there
going
will
to be so
riots in the
sad.
streets.
Like, I mean, they set it up perfectly. That's the thing, is like Shin in the shadows, there needs to be a showdown. It needs to be Roland versus the Coffin Hunters. Like,
this is the kind of stuff where they need to do like a friggin' Overwatch
short clip.
Short thing.
Yes.
Like, do it. Just introduce it for grief's sake.
The other reason I would be completely on board with that is that they wouldn't be bound by a T rating if they did something like that. And if any story needs the freedom of kind of an adult flavor, Shin versus Shadows, I just see that being an epic potential, just simply because of Shin's theory or view of Thorn in general, and the Shadows. And it's just they need to unfetter it. They need to just let it loose.
Like Shin's overall worldview would just be darker than the rest. Period. As a character, he would just be like, "Wow, this one dude just screwed everything up for my entire life."
Like, literally,
I thought it was going to be
he literally killed
fallen.
everyone I loved.
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be a fallen scavenger. No, it turns out it was this jerk,
who is a guardian, by the way. Like that. Oh, Shin. I can go forever on Shin. Uzoma Vale. I don't think we had any updates on Uzoma.
I haven't heard of any. or read any.
I think Uzoma was only on Zen Meteor, I think, if I'm remembering that one right.
Well, it was also Takeo 3, where we don't really know too much on
Takeo
Takeo.
3. Rip Takeo.
Rip Takeo. I don't know. I believe she was a warlock, though, if I recall.
Yeah,
right.
she was a warlock, but oh man, that was a rough strike because of that.
Watching, yeah. Okay, I was there when Blue did that strike.
For the first time.
For the first time.
I was like, that was the first time I played that strike, and I was like,
really?
hang on, I know this name. I know this. Oh no, you're not gonna. Oh, you did.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
And my brother was playing with us, and he's like, "Can we just shoot things now?" It's like
Blue and I were like pouring out 1-4, and Ben's just running around like a chicken with his head cut off. So
it's like, "Can I kill all these things now, please?"
The name didn't click for me until like I think a week later, and I was like, why do I remember Takeo? Oh no! Oh no!
Mm-hmm.
And easily one of those characters I need to do like a little send off for. Like it's a shame they didn't expand her further. Anyway.
Well, and I mean, they kind of, I don't know. I don't of her character. Like, I would like to know her relationship with the Stoic.
Right.
Actually, I just like more information about
the
Stoic.
You want to know about the Stoic?
I just want more information about him, mostly because I'm like a philosopher. Come on, like you can't name someone the Stoic and then that's all you give me.
No.
But I think that's really it. I mean,
I want to do a quick run through just of the people who are dead and are probably not going to get a mention. Like, we know that we have had Andalbrask mentioned. Tevis, we've had mentioned. Gelion, which was another Iron Lord. Jaren Ward, which...
Rip.
Yeah.
Right. The other Iron Lord that's ripped, or Lady, that one makes me super sad. Perun.
Perun is brought up a couple places, same with... Scory mentions her in the... singing a song about her in the Stormcaller mission.
Oh, that's
that
right.
Got.
Sai Mota was killed, as well as Omar on the Crota, because that Crota team is so tragic.
Quite spectacularly dead.
I was going to say, tragically screwed is more like it.
Right.
Just
led to their death by a warlock. Anyway, what? We were talking about hunters, right? I'm never going to give that line up because that was my first episode on Focus Fire Chat. Was the Crota Fire team, and so I did a ton of work on that episode, just like getting ready for it, and I just developed a pure hatred for Toland, unfortunately, during that episode.
I don't think
it's just like, you are a jerk.
No.
You just got.
He was kind of an ass.
You got a strong.
I want to have
morals.
Yeah, it's just I want to have some redeeming factor for him, but there's just nothing.
I'm going to say I love Toland for being the crazy manic that he is, but kind of a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should we jump to dispatches?
Yes, let's do that real quick.
Dispatches from the wilds.
All right, so we got actually two really quick ones from Twitter today, or not today. Well, was it today? I think it was today. I don't know. This week, we got two dispatches from Twitter. The first one is actually from Matt Grundy 89, and both of these have questions. And the first one is, quote, "For the love of the traveler, why don't hunters like symmetrical armor pieces?"
I can answer this one.
I can answer this one.
Because asymmetrical designs are in right now. Like, I have a haircut that's asymmetrical. It totally fits my style, and dude, it's so in. It's a little hipster-ish, but it's so in.
I've actually got a valid theory on this.
Yeah, I just...
Oh, no.
What's up? I'm excited.
No. Wow. No. I think it's got to do with posture, stance, and just the way they present themselves physically. Have you ever, seen a hunter stand with both feet just squared and shoulders squared up to you, straight on, like dead on? No, they usually have one foot in front of the other, and everything's kind of at a, you know what I mean? Like they're usually kind of, I take Cade's posture probably as the best indicator of how a hunter should stand, because, Cade's the best indicator of how a hunter should do anything. I think it has to do with just kind of their posture and the way they stand. I mean, that's not real scientific, but like a Titan will usually stand like square and like square up to you and stand straight and look at you. So it makes more sense for a Titan's armor to be the same on both sides, be symmetrical, because you're going to see him like a monolithic structure just kind of standing there.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think there's a simpler answer. The simpler answer is just because, like what chat's saying, it just annoys the warlocks.
I would also say that there are some pretty not symmetrical Titan pieces. It's not just a hunter problem. Like the shoulder guards on some of these guys. Yeah, Zavala.
Let's go look at Zavala, for example.
Shoulder guard. I'm like, what the heck? I get that it's like a thing to hide behind, but that's a hazard at that point, because you're going to whack yourself if you lift your arm up.
I actually think that's like the quarter panel from an '89 Datsun.
Oh Lord!
Like I think he had a fender bender.
What was it? Wasn't it Locke in Halo 5 that you had the theory about the chin rest? The
chin rest of the feet.
So you could sleep standing up.
Wow.
No, it was so he could hang his head and support so he wouldn't get neck trouble from hanging his head in shame.
Gosh.
Oh man. So the other one was I was Prateth, who I believe is Dolan. I think that's who that is. And he says, what is your favorite hunter exotic armor for PvP and PvE? And to answer myself, PvP is Dragon's Shadow and PvE is Orphis Rigs. I mean, I'll be honest, I have one answer, and that's Orphis Rig.
For both of them?
Yeah, for everything. If I could put Orphis Rig on my Warlock, I'd probably try that.
Warlocks don't wear pants.
Hang on here a second. Have I introduced you to my friend Transversive Steps? Oh, wait, I haven't, because you won't be able to see me.
Oh. I'm sorry, milady. In your entire closet, in a closet full of sundresses, and you're getting snippy.
All right, that's where we're gonna take this. Okie dokie.
What's your favorite hunter armor piece?
Lucky Pants.
Go ahead, Justin.
Well, my opinion will be limited.
2 weeks limited, maybe?
Yeah, 2 weeks limited. Although from seeing what armor pieces made it in from D1, I'm going to have to go with Nighthawk. But right now, the one I'm wearing the most is Lucky Pants. Mm-hmm. Because they're just really lucky pants.
How do you cheat in Crucible? What?
There's no cheating. And by the way, do you not think it's like weird that all of a sudden you're seeing quotes about there being illegal mods in the Crucible? Like, it's the Crucible. Like, I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, it's the same.
We're killing.
All right.
No, go ahead.
It's the same debate as like what Shax has to talk about on Mida. With like where all that goes, and that he has to actually utilize Lakshmi for this one to say it's not from our time period, therefore you can't outlaw it like you did with frickin' Red Death and Soros regime.
I just
don't
love
even
it.
try it, Zavala.
Don't even try it.
Yeah,
leave it alone.
Frickin' loved it. Love it. Anyway,
Green, what about you?
For PvP, it goes up between two of them. Young Ahamkara is fine because if I'm running Gunslinger, I'm just going to run. Honestly, I'm not running Gunslinger. I'm running Trip Mine Grenades. That's what I'm running. Or the Stompies, which it makes it so much easier because I'm actually faster. Stompies and Mida is a deadly tool in PvP.
Yeah.
But as far as the PvE, probably like Stompies again, just because I like jumping around and I like jumping up into high places because I'm constantly exploring. So that makes it easier. Beard, what do you think?
Okay.
Again, I will state, what is Hunter?
I are Hunter.
I are
Hunter.
I is Warlock.
I is Warlock.
Oh, you would go there, wouldn't you there, buddy? All right.
Titan.
Titan smash. I don't actually have a Hunter made up at all at this point. Orpheus Riggs is the only thing that really looks fun to me. I would probably use the Dickens out of that, honestly, but aside from that, I'll put it this way. When I played my Hunter in D1, it was just Bones of AO. I didn't use anything else. Yeah. It was just Bones of AO.
Neither did anybody else, quite frankly.
I was going to say, why would you use anything other than a third jump? Because it was too freaking versatile.
No. Graviton forfeit. Graviton grips. Oh yeah, you like the sealed Ahamkaras. I like Graviton for the
Graviton forfeit.
When it's the not it was
the helmet.
The helm.
Yeah,
that was the one.
It was called Graviton forfeit.
Was it forfeit?
It was called Graviton forfeit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could take that from me because I'm Graviton Lance.
Oh, that's right, Lance.
That's the gun.
Yeah, I never took the forfeit off. Like I never see, and I guess I was the odd duck out because I never had problems with jumping puzzles with the Hunter. I know. Like a lot of people who did, but like I even when I ran Blade Dancer, it was not an issue. Like I never really had issues with it. So like the bones of EO were never really. I tried them once and just it was like, oh, this gives me an extra jump that I don't need. And it doesn't. And see, the thing is ultimately Bones of EO doesn't change the height of which you can jump. No. Like it does a little bit, but it really doesn't change it. And so that was more control. Yeah, it was just about the directional control. Which if you already had a Hunter who was running triple jump, I mean, you really don't. I don't know. Just my playstyle, I didn't really need them, so I just always had Graviton because Graviton's amazing. Plus Keen Scout. Keen Scout is a beast.
Keen Scout is awesome. The way that Bones kind of helped me move around, though, if you had full control on, you were actually jumping faster.
Right.
That was the big reason that I kept them. And then on a side note, too, for PvP, I always found that they were super helpful, only because in midair accuracy, you had that third jump, and it screwed up everybody's plans to go ahead and fire
on you. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I can see that. And I guess, because I wasn't a big PvP player. I still am not. I
used them a lot, like in the raid, because I would like skim the ground. I would just kind of like, like real.
It's almost like Titan skating.
Yeah.
We stole Blink from the Warlocks and skating from the Titans.
I'm telling you, Hunters are the most versatile. I mean, think about Cade's reaction to the whole Red Legion. He's the only one who started doing something right away. Like the other two, they thought
and what
about
did he do? What did he do? He went to steal someone else's tech to use it.
Yes, exactly. Because we're going to figure this out. We'll figure it out together, and it may take some saving and getting captured.
By my cotton socks.
Adapt and overcome.
But
by my cotton socks, he does not have time to explain what he does not have time to understand. But
he was the only one that didn't falter in his hope. Like you didn't see that from him.
Well, and I think
Ikora and Zavala both kind of fell down a little bit, but
well,
Oh my
Cade
God.
still
I'll be honest. I think the reason why is because Cade already lives a semi-hopeless life.
right.
If you, I mean, and I don't mean to downplay what what Zavala and Ikora have gone through, but I mean, just from what we know of the three of them, Cade has an extremely dark past, like extremely checkered. I mean, again, Beard, you kind of made that comment about the journals and his family and how he will never see his son again. And he's like, I mean, he made a comment. He's like, even if he does see his son again, his son will never recognize him because he's not who he was. He is an exo, and he's an exo because of his own choices. Like he put himself in this situation. And it's like, and it's when you start putting that together that like, yeah, Cade's going to be the one that is best equipped to deal with the complete and utter loss of hope because Cade has gone through that. Like Cade has survived these dark times and these dark experiences, and he's used to being the one that's like, you know what, it's time to just keep trucking, and just if you're going through hell, keep going. I think that is a testament more to Cade's experiences,
Character.
and the depth of his character really. Not that the other two don't have depth of character, but I think that's Cade's strength. Cade he's a smart ass, he's a wisecracker, but when the money hits or when the tire hits the road, Cade's the one that's going to be silently going behind the scenes. And I mean, granted, it doesn't always work out, as is evident from the
Poor
game.
Eris's ship.
And also ego can keep you from losing hope too, because I don't think he ever believes anything really that bad's going to happen to him, and that's all down to just
Well, and I mean,
care.
like, yeah, and that's true. I think there's a degree of there's definitely a degree of arrogance in Cade, but I think I really do think that, because I mean, just if you remember the Taken King journal, the stuff that he does remember, it's very dark, and it's just and he's the one that has the most humor. The person who laughs the loudest is often the one that has the most pain.
Right.
Speaking of like losing hope, I think that's a good segue into our shout outs to the
Yeah,
end.
that's fair. I didn't even do that on purpose. I'm just that good.
Have you lost hope in our time management?
Yeah, well,
I lost that a long time ago.
I'm like on the third iteration of recording, so just if you made it through this far, I apologize for any skips in the recording. My computer's sound card is deciding to be fritzy. But Beard, what shout outs you got for us?
I actually have the typical one, Guardian Con, July 13th to 14th. If we can, I was going to say, if we can stop hating on each other. What? Otherwise, I have to give another. My other honestly major shout out is to my buddy Gamma Trap. Small story with Gamma Trap and I. Mylan found both of us at the same time, if you will. He picked up on Gamma's art at about the same time he picked up on my Aphrodite video. And we were both actually featured in the same Aphrodite video that Mylan had done. So there's always been that innate connection between us, if you will, because we both were kind of like found at the same time, quote unquote. But more than that, it was just something we don't get to talk often, him and I. But when we do get a chance to actually talk, our talks are great. But in terms of what he kind of helped me with today, I've been struggling with the way that my content has been in a way going, because I always feel like I have to fit a certain way or a certain direction, and he basically just flat out kind of helped me out with trying to figure out who I am again in a way, because I shouldn't need to figure that this content is something that people are going to see. If it's something that interests me, then I would figure it's going to interest some other people as well, and it might might be able to kind of give them some different spirits or lift up their day, whatever's going on. And it kind of pans back to something that Green and I were talking about last night. And Green knows my little tangent that I'm on at this point, which she was, I gotta give a shout out to Green too. Honestly, I know you're sitting right there, but the mind maps had actually helped me to go to sleep last night. Even though I still woke up with a migraine, so screw you, sleep cycle. Mm-hmm. But it still helped me with this community in general is very good at working together, is basically what I'm like trying to get to. But between the stuff that has happened over the last couple days, and even if people are sitting here screaming at me for stuff and opinions that I have, I don't care, because in the end I'm being true to myself, and that is exactly what this community is about. So I know I'm kind of going back towards the beginning of the show here again, but let's just remember to be good to each other. Like, I've had so many people come forward to help me out with in the last few days, and it, regardless of what kind of things they are, if it being just small, like, hey, thanks for what you do, thanks for, giving us the content that you have, or, well, I found this while I was out there, it's all appreciated, because it all helps me to be good to you and to help myself so I can actually sleep at some point in the day.
Yeah. I'm going to tag off of that just a tiny bit too. It's just, as content creators, it's like people almost expect that we hear a lot as far as feedback from people. Like, we're getting feedback all the time, whether it's positive or negative. We do hear some feedback, but it's not as much as you would think, unless it's like in a YouTube video comment section, which that feedback is always interesting, to say the least. But to hear the stories in the community again, why this community ties together. Somebody mentioned the other day on Twitter that his daughter is playing Destiny, and I was like, that's cool. Like, he likes the fact that his daughter's playing Destiny, and being able to share those moments, like, hey, my daughter, who's like 7 years old, finds this character to be a strong character, and I'm proud to have her play it because it's not anyway, that's a different soapbox. But it's nice to hear those stories again and be like, hey, I came to Destiny because of this, or I like, hey, you don't have to be like, oh, Beard, your stuff is so amazing. That's nice, but it's just like, that's not what we're here for. We're not here for praises. We do like to hear from you guys, but it's actual feedback in ways that can help us. Whether it's like, hey, I know you're going through a hard time. I hope you have a great day. That kind of stuff blows my mind when I get that.
Yep.
I have somebody who checks on me fairly regularly in our chat who is just like, hey, how's your week going? Because he knows I struggle. And it's turned into a friendship. And that's what this community is about. But that's it. Oh, soapboxes. So many soapboxes for days.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I got onto a big tangent, but just...
That's okay. I'm okay with following up on it.
I'll end my shout out by simply saying you're all fantastic, and I all think that you need to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Justin?
Yeah, just a big shout out to my clan, and also a couple of our Focus Fire people. Trigger Blade actually jumped in with us because we needed a sixth and helped run me through parts of the raid last night, and had a really good time playing with him last night. And I also got to get on and play some Crucible with Infested Potato the other day, and had a really good time. So just everyone that's kind of embraced me back, coming back to the game and back to the podcast and everything. I really have missed you guys and everything. So just good to be back, and everybody love everybody. ELE.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody love everybody, and if you don't, so help me God, I'll come find you.
We never heard about that male thief ever again after that story. You know that, right? Like that guy's gone.
That guy's gone.
Also, everybody was kung fu fighting anyway.
So our next topic is going to be the power of hope, which is I'm trying to get a few things organized for that one. I think it's going to be a good one. But the other thing that I was supposed to remember to say was that the book club has been renewed or refreshed for the month of December. It is Artemis by Andy Weir, I believe, is the book.
The author of The Martian, so it's his newest book.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's, if you guys don't have a copy, we have an Audible trial. Or you can look up on YouTube, whatever. The other big thing
that was barely audible.
I know it was. The other big shout out that I did want to give is, in addition to Green, who has done an amazing job with basically recording and transcribing for our own purposes. Over on Ishtar, Pirate Danny has, I think they said, has transcribed over 10,000 words from Destiny 2 to date. So I wanted to give. I wanted to give her a big shout out and a big thank you to all the hard work of that entire team. Because, like Beard was saying, this game, the way the information is delivered in this game, it really does require a community to work together. And thankfully, Destiny has just that. We have a community that is really good at working together, even when we don't agree with each other. And I think that, and someone in chat had made a comment about that earlier, is about how the lore community has been actually one of the pretty steadfast pieces.
Level-headed?
I don't mean, yes, but I don't want to say that.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Oh, well, I'm on the same page there, Beard. I'm like, I don't know.
There are reactions, yes, but it's you can have reactions and still stay level-headed and somewhat objective.
Well, and right, you can. I mean, I don't mind differences of opinions, but we don't accept hate. That's the thing.
It's just an end.
Right? Yeah. It's just that's if you ever want me to not listen to you, that's how you do it. But I really think that those who are helping the Ishtar team transcribe, whether that be our Gunters in Focus Fire Chat or Pirate Danny or any of the figures Purple. Over in the Ishtar Purple, the Ishtar team in general, they are a really good example of what this community can come together and do. You also have the Destiny or Armory Defined for Rhino.
Rhino's, his stuff is crazy good. He's got a bunch up too. Yeah, and he's every day he seems to get more up there. But I mean, those are the examples of what I see when we talk about Destiny community. That's what I kind of go to. But so let's wrap it up. I don't know if we'll stay around for too long of an after show, since this one kind of ran a little bit long, but we probably will just for a little bit. But here we go. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our other sites can also be found with our episode archives over on the new FocusFireChat.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any questions or comments for our team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. Also, be sure to check out all of our amazing podcast partners within the Guardian Radio Network over on theguardiansofdestiny.com. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.